This is the long-awaited return of the Video Insiders podcast. I'm Carlos Pacheco.
And I'm Denis Crushell.
What? Who's Denis Crushell?
Yeah. Thank you, Carlos, for having me on board. My name is Denis Crushell, and I've been in the online video space in many different companies the last 20 years or so. And my initial background was I was at Google YouTube for, how many years was that? It was about 8 years I did there. Then I was at Tubular Labs for 5 years. And now I'm at a company called Precise TV as the Chief Commercial Officer. And I was a big fan of the podcast. And thank you, Carlos, for inviting me on.
Okay, so just to let you guys know, we'll let everybody know, Denis was actually on the show way back in April 2020, back when he was still at Tubular Labs. So those who are new to the show, I'm Carlos Pacheco. I'm actually Director of Operations at a company in Canada called Just for Laughs. And I used to work there many, many years ago, where I basically set up their YouTube channel ecosystem, and have worked in the space for a very long time. But I came back during the pandemic to help them on their OTT side of things, because the experience I had on YouTube sort of like married itself well into the distribution side of things, and I'm having fun learning the fast channel ecosystem and all that sort of stuff. So that's a little bit about us. So let's talk about right into like what's happening. How come we're rebooting the show? So for those who were here before, I used to do this show with Tom Martin, who's a fellow YouTube strategist, and we did it for many years, and after a while we sort of got a little bit burnt out by it. And Tom's doing his own thing right now, and he's building his own YouTube channels, which is great. We've been working in this space so long, we never built our own channels, and Tom's decided to do that for himself. And the podcast thing wasn't as important for him. And life got busy, the pandemic got in the way, and we all just focused on family, work, and all that sort of stuff. Now, it's been a couple years, and I'm feeling the itch of talking a little bit more. Maybe not as frequently. We're thinking we're going to do this podcast once a month, just to give us space. One of the biggest issues I had with the podcast is I felt that things got repetitive fairly quickly by doing a podcast every couple of weeks or every week. We just end up talking about the same thing over and over and over again. And I wanted to sort of find ways or give us space so that we can find things to discuss, what's happening in the news, people to talk to, all that sort of stuff. So this is the planned reboot of the show. This will be a quick, short episode. We won't get too deep into things, but we're looking at how we're going to upgrade the show, what we're going to change. Maybe we're going to change the name. We'll figure it out. The issue, it's not that the name is bad, it's just that there's actually another podcast called the Video Insiders Podcast. So we kind of want to find something a little bit different. So we'll take it from there. So Denis, let's get into what's happening right now, and the reason we wanted to sort of launch the show at this time was basically as of 2 weeks ago, Shorts, which has been a monster format for YouTube's war against TikTok, has joined the partner program on YouTube, and the creators are rolling in the dough. I'm being sarcastic here. What are you seeing, Denis? I'm seeing things on channels I have access to, friends that let me, look at their channels and give them advice. And I see people post online, but I'd like to hear your perspective, Denis.
Yeah, great. I think it's fascinating seeing what YouTube have done with YouTube Shorts. It's fascinating, actually, if you look at something like ChatGPT right now, where they're acting really quickly. I think with TikTok, they acted quite quickly, but not too quickly. But in the last maybe 8-10 months or something, YouTube Shorts have been around. I think they did a good job of setting it up and giving it a lot of viewership, because I'm sure that's hard for YouTube to push a lot of those audiences into not as well monetized areas of the platform. but they did a good job there. So what I've heard in the last 2 weeks or seen, I think I've seen that, YouTube Shorts is absolutely massive. I've seen that in Tubular Labs data. It's big. And yeah, I'm estimating maybe what is it? Maybe 10 to 30% of overall kind of views anyway, even though a YouTube Shorts view will definitely not be equal to a longer form view. And I think they've gotten good hype around it. They've gotten creators very excited about the monetization stuff. I have seen on LinkedIn mostly, which is a platform I'm on a lot, I see people talking about their RPMs, and that's interesting. I see kind of mixed opinions of that. And mostly it's actually like positive, where it's more people in the industry talking about it had to start somewhere. And I've seen people refer back to when the YouTube partnership program opened up in 2008 or 9 or something, probably barely started opening up, or maybe it was later, and referring back to the RPMs then and how they were similar. So yeah, it seems like people are happy. I think it's a great effort to get creators on board, especially when it seems like creators are not as happy with ad monetization on TikTok, which is very little. So yeah, that's kind of everything I've seen. What about you, Carlos?
Well, I mean, for me, obviously, I've seen the same, both directly and indirectly, the monetization scale. So right now, meaning that, the RPMs are abysmal. They go 2 cents to 8 cents. I think 8 cents is probably the highest I've heard about it. And, again, I always, there's always complainers in this space. But I totally agree with you. Like it has to start somewhere. And one of the biggest questions, and again, you and me have a sort of similar backgrounds in terms of like I spent many years in advertising. I used to buy advertising. Google Ads was my thing. One of the main questions I had about all these people complaining about RPMs is like, does anybody actually know how to put ads on YouTube Shorts? Because at this point, there's no direct way to do it. From what I know, again, I'm not day to day into Google Ads, but you're in an ad business. Precise TV is about optimizing for ads. Has Google been educating or giving any advertisers sort of insights on how to do this?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear 2 cents to 8 cents. That's tough, isn't it? Hopefully it's building over time. But I think, from what we've seen, Precise TV, and we specialize in like contextual advertising on YouTube to drive performance, brand safety, suitability, and all of that. And with what we've seen is, that Shorts has opened up for monetization. I think they've done initially a good job of like the existing ads that are in Google Ads and DV360 and all these places, like funneling some of those ads into YouTube Shorts. But I think in terms of vertical video and making sure that like people are actually uploading vertical video and trying to place them only in YouTube Shorts, that's not quite there yet. There's like a lot of horizontal and vertical showing in YouTube Shorts, or it's unclear kind of how you can exactly target YouTube Shorts. So there's many different ad formats on YouTube, like video for action, video in stream, non-skip, skip, and in feed. So there's actually quite a few video formats when it comes to YouTube video products, and not all of them are opened up or allowed you like the setting only to advertise to YouTube Shorts. It's kind of more like YouTube Shorts is somewhere in that ad product, as are other placements. So from my personal perspective, and there's a lot of hype from advertisers. Like I think there's a lot of advertisers doing a lot of stuff on TikTok that would be very easy just to bring straight onto the YouTube Shorts and gain additional reach. So I think Google's getting there, but it's not yet like something for us. We would love to contextually advertise it. That's not yet an option, which we would love that to be an option, but it's not an option yet.
I think one of the things that YouTube or Google is going to learn in the next foreseeable years as they try to monetize this is that they can't just use the same formats that they've been using for the past 10, 15 years, right? Yes, there'll be, I see it as almost three different type of buckets of content, monetization ways. And this is me just spitballing, right? Obviously, there's the programmatic way of doing it, which is, and again, the ad formats and making sure ads run at beginning and at the end, right? I sort of want to step back a bit, but people have to realize that Shorts monetization right now, like they can only put an ad in front and in the back. They can't put an ad in the middle, right? And they can't make those ads too long. So obviously, compared to a normal YouTube video, that doesn't give a lot of space for advertisers. So obviously, they're not going to spend a lot of money. The CPMs are not going to be high. So that explains a little bit of why we're seeing low RPMs. But I think one of the things that YouTube's going to have to look into is diversifying the type of ads that they run or the type of monetization they give access to creators. The programmatic one, which is sort of hands off, a little bit more dynamic in the way Shorts is displayed, right? Like you think of the little when somebody runs a hashtag promotion on Twitter, right? And they do a hashtag promotion, and when you use that hashtag,
on TikTok as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then a little icon appears next to the hashtag, right? And that's a sponsored icon, right? Those types of dynamic integrations are going to need to be part of Shorts to diversify the monetization side of things. Additionally, is the big money that's going to TikTok right now is in partner sort of like collaborations, right, with brands.
Yeah.
And YouTube has been a horrible partner in that side of things over the years. They've tried, but they've done a really bad job of it because it's just not they're a machine. I always consider, and you were there, so obviously you you have a little bit of a perspective, but Google is a machine, right? They like to build tools. They build tools. You figure it out, you use it, and that's it, right? And they want it to scale. And creator collaborations with brands is a very hard business to scale because it's very sort of engaged, and you have to deal with the creator, you have to deal with the brand, you have to deal with everything in between. So that's always been a problematic space. And I think there'll be a lot of startups. I mean, there's already hundreds of companies out there who help you do monetization on your content. But the problem with dealing with an outside firm is that Google doesn't get a cut. So they're not too happy with that side of things, right? So they're going to have to find a way to get a cut or be in between that situation. That's my sort of like tinfoil. I would say like my tinfoil hat sort of like prediction of like what needs to happen in the ecosystem for them to, and then there's other things like sponsorships, tipping, all those sort of direct monetization things that they're going to have to come up with. They're going to have to integrate to really diversify the monetization of that ecosystem. Anything else you can think of, Denis?
I think with the point you mentioned earlier about like ad load, where you were saying you can't put an ad before, after the video, but it's in the feed, so it's in the middle of a lot of shorts. Like, if you think about YouTube when it first started, when they first introduced advertising, like that, the ad load wasn't that high then either, right? So I think with shorts, it's kind of a balancing act. They want to make sure they get the big audience and not overload adverts, and as well while people get used to those adverts. So I think that's one thing. I think the brand integrations piece, I think, and from being at Google when like influencers was becoming much of a bigger thing, I'm just trying to think of the years. Like, I guess influencers really on YouTube kind of 2012 to 15, it started getting a lot of traction, and that was kind of new to YouTube, right? While TikTok actually have an advantage. Their platform started when influencers were absolutely massive already, and the platform also was leaning into influencers, TikTok. Like if you think about YouTube, it was like trying to get media companies on board. Next thing, these influencers are happening. Oh, let's go all in with influencers more so recently. So I think with TikTok, I think with TikTok, they've had to like from the very start think about like boosting content from creators more so than maybe YouTube did initially, where YouTube had built this ad monetization machine, which now TikTok's probably trying to catch up on. So I think it's very interesting times, and I think TikTok, in fairness to TikTok, I think they've done a great job of like making sure that they're integrating influencers with ads. But what was their slogan? Make TikToks, not ads. Like they've been pretty good at that.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how out of YouTube, Google as a company, I say Google, but Alphabet, whatever they want to call themselves at the moment, have been notoriously bad at sort of adjusting to their clientele or their user base with most of their products. YouTube's sort of the exception, where they've done a good job of just like shifting gears and just following the trends and saying, okay, people are into this, let's adopt this. When Twitch was blowing up, they started to switch things up and making a little bit more friendly for gamers. And I think at the end of the day, like many years in, Twitch is not what it used to be, and YouTube's doing still extremely well on gaming. I see the sort of the same thing right now with shorts. Yes, TikTok's been on a tear for many years, but YouTube is likely and again, I don't have real data in front of me, but the news cycle and the numbers keep going up substantially. I think the last I saw was 50 billion views a month, something like that. I'll try to put a link in the description that I saw. They're doing a good job of sort of recapturing that audience. And taking the momentum away from TikTok, and I think the monetization side of things is one of the key factors that's going to happen if they're able to, as you said, I totally agree. Like they can't just super load it with ads right off the bat. They have to sort of like drip it into it. So the slow boil, frog in a boy in a pan type of situation, right?
But I think one thing with TikTok in the US, if we just take the US market, I still think TikTok is about like half to a third the size of YouTube from stats I've seen before. So like there's a lot of people who are kind of experiencing this short video type TikTok-esque for the first time on YouTube when they were already on YouTube. So they're doing a good job of recapturing that. But I think it's fascinating, though, hearing in the US press about will TikTok get banned or not. And
that's also a big thing, right?
And all these balloons aren't helping, I'm sure.
You're absolutely right. That's causing a little bit of a fear, because the last thing you want is to be a creator who put all their eggs in one basket, and TikTok is a thing, and all of a sudden TikTok gets banned in the biggest, most lucrative market, one of its biggest lucrative markets. And so anybody that's half a decent or half a smart creator right now needs to be diversifying and doing across the board, even God forbid use Instagram Reels.
Yeah, why'd you say God forbid Instagram Reels? Is there negative connotations with it?
I just, I'm not a big fan of, how of Meta and that system as well. I mean, they've done again, don't want to get into that space too far, but like, just with the monetization side of things, they came off the gate slightly strong a couple years ago and have just completely fallen off the face of the earth in terms of like even making an effort to help creators monetize their content. Like, no, I don't see anybody sort of like boasting about it. I see revenues going down, and there's no effort to sort of like really work with creators on that side of things, at least in my sort of ecosystem or my network of friends. I don't hear them talk. So they're still there, but obviously Instagram has turned into a all dressed pizza type of service. Whatever they put whatever on it, they've turned it into it is what it is. We won't get into it, but I complain about it, but I still fall into the black hole of like scrolling through reels once in a
Yeah, yeah.
while. I mean, at the end of the day, like Shorts is ongoing. It's just getting started, right? So
Yeah.
I fall into this, like, again, it's like I've done my best to avoid TikTok just because I'm old and I just didn't want to get into that and feel like it's one of those things where I've been in this space so long that I've used to be early adopter to everything, right?
Yeah.
But when TikTok hit, for some reason, it just didn't. I just felt like, oh man, I can't handle another one. Like, I just don't want to deal with another thing. And I just stopped and I just stayed there and I avoided it. And, then all the things happened with TikTok. This is sort of personal anecdote. But, with YouTube, I sort of embraced it a little bit more. I think I was a bit biased because I've been working on YouTube for a long time. So, I wanted to adopt it more and make sure that platform survives because I knew I have a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues who work in this space, and I want to support it. Whereas TikTok does have a partner program, but it's peanuts, right? At the end of the day. So that's where we're at.
Well, one question for you about TikTok. What kind of RPMs do you think people are seeing there? Is it similar, 2 to 8 cents, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen them. I've seen 2 to 8 cents.
Okay.
So it's all across the board.
Yeah.
Everybody was sort of like, yeah, let's look into it. Like, February 3rd, it's like, let's see what's happening. They're looking like, okay, that's kind of low. And then, let's wait. And then nope. And then what's crazy about being successful on Shorts right now is that it completely drops your average RPM across the channel, right? Because all of a sudden you're getting a heck ton of views on Shorts that aren't monetized, so the average RPM drops significantly. And you're like, what's happening? And then you realize, oh, it's Shorts.
One thing though, and I've seen in YouTube channels, where there's like RPM, so revenue per 1,000 impressions. Is that impressions when it loads an ad every time, or is that for 1,000 of your views? Do you know? You know what I mean? The slight difference.
The load between the views.
So I'm saying, like, sometimes you look.
Dude, you're the one who worked at YouTube, man.
Yeah, but I remember in YouTube Analytics, you could look at a report where it was literally like your RPM, which I think is just like average all of your.
That's your revenue. That's what you're making in your pocket. There's the CPM and then the RPM, right?
Yeah, but the RPM is I think from memory is like averaging across all of your views.
Yes.
But not all those views will be monetized.
Exactly.
So, yes, and I'm just wondering in the reporting. You can do this with the main YouTube ads where you can look at, okay, like it basically can kind of show your fill rate of like how many. So is there like fill rates like that as well for Shorts, or maybe they don't expose it?
No, it's a little bit of a black hole right now. I haven't actually deep dived into that, but I'm sure there'll be.
Yeah.
I totally get the fill rate, the difference. Obviously, if you look at RPMs on only monetized content, your RPMs are amazing.
Yeah,
you're like,
because
whoa.
And the reason I bring this up is like I've seen TikTok CPMs are kind of anywhere from like to buy ads on TikTok cost anywhere from $3 maybe up to $10 or $12, but like if the creators are only seeing 2 to 8 cents in the back end, like a big issue is ad load must be very low against this content.
Again, not having the experience of looking at the CPMs of TikTok, but I'm 100% sure that those $8 are based on monetized views. It doesn't account for all the views that are not monetized.
Oh,
right?
yes. Yeah, that's fully just wherever the ad showed.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, well, I'll have to start looking into that and see how we can isolate the monetized, not monetized views.
We're gone down a rabbit hole. Sorry, Carlos.
It's all good. I think I'm a big fan of podcasts, and I like podcasts that have like straight up discussions and that are very much less about promoting something or just like reading off a book type of situation. So I love lively discussions and sort of like bouncing off ideas. And I often get into calls with old colleagues, and we start talking about the industry and things that happen, and then we get into a tangent. Next thing you know, you're an hour in, and you're like, "Oh crap, we haven't talked about anything, business wise." So I really enjoy those conversations. That's what I want this podcast to be, sort of a lively discussion. And obviously we're going to have guests within our networks. We're going to diversify. Obviously we talk a lot about YouTube, but I haven't bought ads in a couple of years, but like I still, used to buy. I was running an agency with my wife a couple of years ago, so I was back into that ecosystem.
Oh, cool.
So, I'm always interested to see how the technology is advancing or retracting, because I don't know, with all the new rules now, right? I think the Wild West of the digital advertising space is starting to get a little bit reined in. With its tracking systems, right? And again, I don't want to deviate into that conversation, but I think this will be a great future conversation to have as we build out the podcast. I think we're going to just leave it at that. We're going to keep an eye out as to where the shorts are going.
Yeah.
We'll give you updates whenever we see news. In this podcast description, we'll put a couple links of the things we're looking at. There's a couple updates from Denis on LinkedIn that he posts these great insights on what he sees. And a couple of colleagues in the ecosystem that we read and follow that give great advice, that we'll put some links in the description of this podcast below. We're trying to figure out a little bit of how people can get in touch with us right now, but essentially I'm going to reboot the Video Insiders Twitter handle for now, and then figure out, what's the best next steps. Maybe we'll create a Discord. No, I don't think anybody cares enough to join a Discord. Double check if my Video Insiders email still works, and all that sort of stuff to figure out what the next is. But anyways, we'll still put links to our profiles in the description of the show. If anybody wants to just, connect with us, we're on LinkedIn. I'm Carlos Pacheco. This is Denis Crushell. You pronounce it, because I always have the English.
It's basically like Crushell. So
Crushell.
Yeah, but then you say it really fast. Crushell.
Crushell.
Yeah, it's actually Gaelic for Russell. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's true, you're in Ireland, right?
I'm in London. Yeah.
Oh, you're in London, but you're Irish.
Yes, I am. So I've lived in London for 13 years now. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I've been to Ireland 3 times. I love it.
It's good.
So
it's good.
I'm Portuguese descent, but for some reason I have like a love for Celtic, for Ireland, for Scotland. Nice. For some reason I just love that area so much. I would move there in an instant. Yeah. Anyways, get into a tangent. So thanks for joining us. Hopefully you'll subscribe and follow us and see our adventures. And obviously reach out to us if you have any ideas and if you want to have a discussion with us. We'll gladly take you up on it.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.